We will start from annoying, imported hunting targets, damaging environments, and advance all the way to furry assassins, destroying entire native species. Number 8. Rabbits. Imagine a cute, fuzzy little pet triggering a multi-million-dollar biological war zone. The chaotic saga officially kicked off back in 1859 when an English gentleman named Thomas Austin imported 24 European rabbits to his Australian estate simply for casual hunting amusement. He honestly thought it would just be a harmless way to make his new home feel a bit more like the cozy British countryside. However, because the vast Australian continent possessed absolutely zero natural predators for these creatures, those 24 fluffy hitchhikers held a massive, non-stop breeding party. Before anyone could comprehend the scale of the crisis, the population exploded from a tiny family into an unstoppable army of over 10 billion eco-terrorists. They quickly turned once lush, vibrant landscapes into barren, dusty deserts by greedily devouring every single green leaf and root in sight. This aggressive feeding behavior stripped the land completely bare, literally starving the unique local wildlife out of house and home because their food supply vanished overnight. To stop this fluffy apocalypse, the desperate Australian government decided to unleash the ultimate biological weapons to save their agricultural sectors. In the 1950s, they introduced the deadly myxoma virus, which was later followed by a highly contagious rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus during the late 1980s. While these intense biological warfare strikes successfully wiped out massive percentages of the population, the surviving rabbits refused to give up the fight. They basically looked at the threat and decided that what does not kill them only makes them much stronger, gradually developing a powerful genetic immunity. Today, this incredibly high-stakes evolutionary race continues to rage on across the entire country. There are currently about 200 million highly resilient, immune-strengthened rabbits still running amok and causing severe environmental damage to the continent. Number 7. Silver carp. Meet the silver carp, an incredibly notorious invasive fish famous for its world-class high-flying gymnastics that frequently cause chaotic scenes on American waterways. These aquatic acrobats possess a bizarre habit of launching themselves multiple feet out of the water whenever they are startled by the sound of boat engines. This means they regularly punch unsuspecting fishermen and recreational boaters right in the face, occasionally causing broken bones and severe black eyes. The irony is that these fish were originally flown into the United States from Asia back in the 1970s with very noble intentions. Private pond owners wanted them to act as natural, eco-friendly water filtration systems because they are completely obsessed with eating massive amounts of algae and plankton. But during a series of intense seasonal floods, these clever aquatic gymnasts pulled off a daring prison break into the massive Mississippi River system. Once they tasted freedom, they utilized the massive river highways to rapidly duplicate their numbers into the tens of millions. Now, they are aggressively hogging all the plankton at the bottom of the food chain, leaving Native American fish with absolutely empty plates. To control this watery chaos, state authorities are currently trying almost everything in the book, from high-tech to highly unconventional methods. They use heavy electrofishing boats, deploy giant gladiator-style nets, and even host massive archery tournaments where people win cash prizes for shooting them with bows and arrows. Another highly encouraged plan is to simply convince the public to eat them, since their meat is remarkably clean, healthy, and filled with rich nutrients. But convincing the general American population to trade their classic beef burgers for silver carp remains a completely different psychological battle. Do you think a fish could knock you out in a boat, or would you knock it into a frying pan first? Number 6. Rodents. Rats and mice have been playing the ultimate global game of survival hide-and-seek with humanity, successfully hitchhiking on our journeys for at least 15,000 years. Wherever humans built ships and explored new lands, these tiny furry opportunists tags along inside the dark corners of cargo holds. In a modern concrete jungle, They are usually viewed as a frustrating, dirty nuisance that runs across subway tracks. However, when they manage to land on geographically isolated island paradises like Hawaii or New Zealand, they transform into total engines of absolute ecological destruction. New Zealand alone has tragically watched roughly half of its entire unique flightless bird population vanish forever since these miniature monsters invaded the shores. These rodents essentially act like highly efficient vacuum cleaners, rapidly devouring the seeds, native fruits, and unique insects that the local species rely on to survive. To make matters significantly more horrifying, they will actively raid defenseless nests to eat the eggs and the local birds directly. The ripple effect is devastating, because if a native predator tries to fight back by hunting and eating a rat, they usually catch fatal, exotic diseases carried by the rodent. Because females can produce dozens of offspring every single year, their reproductive speed is faster than any human can possibly keep up with. As a result, completely erasing these tiny furry invaders from an ecosystem is a monumental task that feels almost scientifically impossible to achieve. Number 5. Wild pigs. Wild boars originally belonged to the dense forests of Eurasia and North Africa, but early human explorers shipped them to America and Australia to serve as a mobile bacon supply. Unfortunately, many of these highly adaptable creatures managed to break out of their enclosures and quickly multiplied in the wilderness. Here is a truly mind-blowing biological fact that sounds like a crazy science fiction twist. If a sweet, pink, domesticated farm pig escapes into the wild, its genetics alter rapidly. Within just a few months of living in the wild, it grows thick, coarse hair, develops long, sharp tusks, and completely reverts back into a savage, aggressive beast. These heavy animals completely ruin natural landscapes by using their tough snouts like industrial bulldozers to aggressively dig up roots and soil. Furthermore, they absolutely love to turn pristine, clean water holes into muddy, bacteria-filled swamps where they wallow to stay cool. This destructive, messy habit spreads deadly parasites and dangerous bacteria to the native wildlife who desperately need that clean drinking water to survive the dry seasons. Over in the United States, defending farmland from these tusked invaders has escalated into an all-out, high-stakes military operation. The wild pig population causes billions of dollars in agricultural damage by trampling fields and destroying valuable cash crops. To protect their livelihoods, modern farmers and landowners are forced to lease commercial helicopters and pack heavy-duty firearms just to keep the wild pig populations from completely bankrupting them. Number 4. Burmese python. The Burmese python, recognized worldwide as one of the absolute titans of the reptile kingdom, originally arrived in the tropical Florida Everglades during the 1980s and 1990s. They were brought across the ocean by eager collectors who wanted to own a unique, exotic pet to show off to their friends. However, many of these buyers failed to realize that those cute, tiny little hatchlings would quickly grow into giant, 20-foot-long eating machines. As the snakes matured, their weekly grocery bills became incredibly expensive, requiring large amounts of fresh meat that regular owners simply could not afford. Faced with massive financial stress, many irresponsible owners made the terrible decision to set their giant snakes free into the nearby swamps. This short-sighted personal choice quickly transformed a private pet problem into a historic ecological catastrophe for the entire state of Florida. Today, tens of thousands of these massive apex predators completely rule the wetlands, swallowing everything from local birds to fully grown American alligators. Their insatiable appetite has caused the fragile population of native mammals in the Everglades to plummet by an astonishing 90% over the last few decades. To combat this silent threat, the government now employs professional bounty hunters who receive payment based entirely on the physical length of the pythons they manage to capture. However, finding them is an extreme challenge because they are masters of camouflage, and they have even started entering suburban areas by crawling through home plumbing. Number 3. Brown tree snake. The brown tree snake is a highly agile, mildly venomous tree climber that accidentally hitched a ride to the isolated island of Guam during the mid-1940s. They managed to sneak inside heavy military cargo crates shipped by the United States Armed Forces during the chaotic movements of World War II. Fast forward to the modern era, and this beautiful tropical paradise is now completely packed with an estimated population of 2 million snakes. When you break those numbers down mathematically, it means there are roughly 3,000 slithering reptiles packed into every single square mile of the island. Because they completely own the forest canopies and faced absolutely zero competition from local predators, the native wildlife was caught completely off guard. The birds had never seen a snake before, leading to the tragic, permanent extinction of 7 out of the island's 18 unique native bird species. But these reptiles do not just terrorize the local wildlife. They are also major infrastructure saboteurs with a weird habit of climbing into electrical substations. These climbing adventures regularly create short circuits across high-voltage wires, causing massive, island-wide power blackouts that drive the human residents absolutely crazy. To fight back against this overwhelming population, desperate scientists are currently deploying an incredibly bizarre and highly creative tactical strike from the air. They are dropping dead mice packed with high doses of human painkillers from helicopters, which acts as a highly targeted, fatal toxic trap, specifically for the snake. If scientists are dropping medicated mice from the sky to save an island, what is the craziest thing you would do to fix a pest problem? Leave your wildest ideas in the comments below. Number 2. Cane toads. The notorious cane toad stands as living proof that introducing a single invasive species can single-handedly break the structural balance of an entire ecosystem. Back in 1935, well-meaning Australian agricultural authorities imported exactly 102 of these heavy-duty toads directly from the tropical regions of Central America. They desperately hoped these large amphibians would naturalize and eat the pesky French's cane beetles that were completely destroying the country's highly lucrative sugarcane crops. Instead of staying in the muddy sugarcane fields and doing their job, the toads looked around their new home and decided to eat literally everything else. They began devouring native birds, unique reptiles, beneficial insects, and they would even crawl into backyards to eat left-out dog food and household garbage. Today, that original, tiny group of 102 hitchhikers has multiplied into a massive, unstoppable marching army of over 200 million toxic invaders spreading across the nation. The secret to their survival is that they carry large, powerful poison glands located right behind their eyes, which contain a deadly cocktail of toxins. This weapon fatally poisons local apex predators, like monitor lizards, dingoes, and freshwater crocodiles, who mistake the slow-moving toads for a quick, defenseless snack. Because the landscapes are now heavily overrun and the natural food supplies are running dangerously low, these clever toads have actually resorted to eating each other. Cannibalism has become their primary survival strategy to keep their massive numbers alive while they continue to colonize new territories across the wild Australian outback. Number 1. Feral cats. Please do not let those adorable whiskers and soft purrs fool you. Feral cats are technically listed among the most brutal and destructive invasive forces on Earth. They originally arrived on the shores of Australia back in the late 18th century as valued shipboard employees hired by European sailors. Their primary job was to keep the destructive rodent populations down inside the dark cargo holds of historic wooden sailing vessels. However, once these highly efficient predators stepped off the boats and discovered the vast, unprotected wilderness, they quickly escaped into the wild bush. Today, their population has exploded into an uncontrollable empire, with numbers currently fluctuating anywhere between 2 and 10 million active hunters. With absolutely no larger predators in the environment to keep their numbers in check, these stealthy felines became a primary driving force behind historic ecological disasters. They are directly responsible for the permanent extinction of dozens of unique native mammal species that could not adapt to their advanced hunting tactics. Scientific data reveals that these silent nocturnal stalkers successfully take down an estimated 1 million native birds and reptiles every single day. When you multiply that across a full calendar year, they easily cross the staggering 1 billion mark, putting immense pressure on fragile biodiversity. To save their remaining unique wildlife from complete erasure, the Australian government has built massive, predator-free safe zones completely sealed off by heavy-duty electric fences. Nature is locked in a fierce battle for survival, and is the line between the protectors and the invaders blurring more and more every day. Hit that subscribe button and smash the like tool right now so you do not miss our next wild breakdown.